That's right. This is Conf T with your SC. I am your host, Bryan Young. This is episode 56, and I am joined by two very special guests, but also, most importantly, my co-host, Mr. Tom Porto. How are you, sir?
That's right. I love the most importantly. That I really appreciate that, Brian. I'm just avoiding flooding as much as I can in this ridiculous July that we're having. But other than that, I'm great. How about you, man?
Hey, you know what? I'm good. And you know what? We have a special surprise for Mr. Porto here. Let it be known that Mr. Tom Porto has won a Dundee. Yes, that
Thank
was
you so much.
A lot longer than I remembered it being. But yes, Mr. Porto has won a Dundee. Mine is up on the corner there. But, of course, what happens when an engineer wins a Dundee at work and there is no physical Dundee to be given? You 3D print one, of course. So how are you doing with your Bryan Young starter pack over there, Tom? Are you rocking anything today?
I'm lacking. I dropped the kids off at camp and then was going to stop at Dunkin' to get my coffee. But I needed to get back to this as quickly as I could, so I couldn't get it.
Well, as you can see by the little clock display.
Hold on now.
What you got? What do you got? Oh, okay.
I got the flipper, though.
All right, you got the flipper. All right.
We're partway there.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't stop at Dunkin' because we were already about 20 minutes late in starting this, but that's okay. better late than never. That's why he's the most important. He shows up whenever he feels like it. So. Yeah. Cool. Well, enough about Tom because he's here. He's here the rest of the time. We have, as I said, two very special guests. One of them you may remember from previous episodes, and also his YouTube channel, Cisco Sal. Salvatore, how are you, sir?
Above average. How you doing today, Brian?
Above average. I like that. So you're like a B+ today.
Like a B+, not quite an A. Just like a B+, maybe an A- in a couple hours or so.
Wow. Cool. So Sal, what have you been doing lately, man? I know you've been rocking the YouTube channel and posting stuff up there. What's been going on in your world?
Yeah, just been busy, trying to get back into YouTube a little bit more. It's toward the end of the year, so hopefully things start to slow down a little over the summer. Maybe we can start focusing on that a little bit more. But just been busy with work, really. A lot of customer meetings, and we've been down a couple SEs, so just been running around a lot.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's definitely busy. I still think my favorite YouTube video you ever did was demonstrating the noise removal feature on the WebEx Desk Pros. And by doing this, what you had your wife doing was mowing the lawn with the window open. I still think that's still my favorite. And then you did another one recently where you're in the laundry room with the Desk Mini or whatever with the handle, and you're working on top of the washing machine.
Yeah, the lawnmower one was actually really funny. My wife, so when we moved into our house, I bought 54-inch riding lawnmower, and my wife's like, I am never getting on that thing. My wife is like, Jersey girl. Unless there's a paved walking trail, she won't go on it. And I'm like, I just need you to jump on the mower. She's like, I don't even know how to use this thing. I'm like, don't worry about it, just jump on. And it ended up being pretty funny.
Oh, it was great. And it's funny because I use that video now, to show my wife, be like, see, you could mow the lawn too, right? Cisco Sal got his wife to mow the lawn. I think you can do it too.
Of course, she's just in the background, death gripping that wheel, just hoping to God it doesn't take off.
It was just so nonchalant. It was perfect. You just see her just going across the back there. I'm like, that's perfect. Like you couldn't plan the timing any better. I thought it was just great, and a great demonstration of the technology.
My vote might be the Kohler sink installation video. I think that one's up there for me.
Yeah,
did you tie that back to Cisco,
right? It's not just about Cisco.
Yeah, it was a retro episode of This Old House. I was like, what's going on here? Sal's reaching into his inner Italian and kept bringing out the plumber in him.
That's right. You gotta learn all the trades.
Sal. We installing a sink. I'm gonna
Great
get a lot
movie,
of
by
hate
the
off of
way.
that
Great
one.
movie.
Well, the new Mario movie's good. I like that.
Yep,
it's very good.
Agreed.
If and of course the kids go and see it and they come back and they're all like peaches, peaches, peaches. I'm like, what the hell are you singing? I had to watch the movie myself. I'm like, oh, I get it now. I get it now. Good old Jack Black, man. You can't go wrong. Cool. Well, above average, Sal. I'm glad to see you again. Glad you can come on, and we have a new face today. This is Alexis. Alexis, how are you? I hope it's better than
Good.
above average.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm about to go on PTO, so I am definitely above average.
There you go. Now, would that be partial time off or pretend time off? Because PTO at Cisco means one of those two things. Usually not paid
Um,
time off where you're
I
actually
think
off.
I think more pretend time off, especially
Yeah,
with it's the end of our fiscal this month. So,
yeah.
you know.
So, Alexis, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at Cisco? And I know you have a social media brand and following. Why don't you go into that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so nice to meet, I guess, all of the new faces that I cannot see. But my name's Alexis. I'm a Cisco SE. So I'm a generalist. I cover all Cisco technologies, everything from route switch, wireless, data center, security, collaboration, any kind of new acquisition. So, Thousand Eyes, Valtix, all of those. I'm in the same role as Sal. So we're both SEs. I've been with Cisco for about 3 years, and I support customers out of the Washington, D.C. area.
Nice.
And I recently started, I recently started a few social platforms. You can find them under Digital Byte, BYTE, like a bite, on
I like it.
TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and I post some on LinkedIn.
Nice. Yeah, I
What
only
about
see
what
the
about
LinkedIn stuff.
Stitch? The Stitch. Anyone on Stitch yet?
Stitch. Oh, you mean Threads?
Threads.
Yeah,
See, I'm
I
not even.
I
I'm not even up. I've been at in Nashville the last week, so I'm like
wow,
trying to hear from this
Stitch.
stuff through the radio.
I accidentally made a Threads account and now it won't let you delete it without deleting your whole Instagram. Um, I don't know how I
Of
feel
course.
about it yet.
Wasn't
That's a whole
wasn't Mark
different
Zuckerberg
discussion.
like bragging about how many millions of people signed up for it?
Dude,
And
they got like 7 million people in the first 24 hours or something like that. It was ridiculous.
but then the next article I read is talking about the same issue that you're saying, where it's like, well, you can't get rid of your Threads account unless you delete your Instagram. I'm like, are we seriously saying how many people signed up and how many people want to delete their accounts all in like the same day? Like the two
Well,
articles right
because
next to each other.
it was this like weird banner. It didn't tell you until after you signed up. So on Instagram, you'd get like a push notification sign up for Threads and you'd click it and then there'd be all of these like, like the workflow that walks you through importing your Instagram contacts or follow the same people you follow on Instagram and then copy over your bio and profile picture and you'd like hit all those buttons and then it says, by the way, you can't delete this. So you were like already
Can't turn
you're
back
already
now.
two,
Sign,
you're already 2 feet in.
sign up with a different account then.
Yeah.
Tom, do you feel old right now? I feel very old right now.
Yeah. Someone start dropping some slang that I don't understand. I'll jump off.
I mean, I feel a little bit better that even Cisco Sal over there, called it the wrong name, but he's like, "Did
It
you
was a
sign
lot
up for
simpler
your
when,
Yarn account?"
all we had was MySpace, AOL Instant Messenger, maybe
Yeah,
some ICQ, IRC back in the day. I don't think we needed more than that.
ICQ with your ICP, playing some insane clown posse while you're talking to your friends on ICQ.
I bet Alexis doesn't even know what any of those platforms
I
are.
couldn't
Maybe
no,
AOL
couldn't
Instant
tell you.
Messenger.
Couldn't tell you.
Oh my god! Yeah, I had to explain to my kids what a dial tone was the other day. What's a dial tone? Ay, ay, ay. All right. So we'll definitely be sure to put some links there to your social media platforms, Alexis. I'm definitely, I'm glad that I'm not on this stuff anymore. I got the LinkedIn, and that's all I need, and the YouTube stuff for this, and that's all I need. But we're only 10 minutes in, and we haven't even gotten to anything other than talking about Threads here, which is fine. Our point of this conversation, this meeting of the minds, is to go over Cisco Live and do a little bit of a recap. Now, reason we brought on Alexis, besides her awesomeness, which is funny. I hold on, I can't get over the fact that it's been 3 years. It seems like just yesterday we were doing the training stuff. Has it been
Yeah,
that
fun.
long that already?
Fun stuff, guys. Brian used to be one of my mentors. It used to
Oh
be
my
is,
God.
you know.
Used to be. Yeah. It's all right. It's all right. I'm
We
halfway in the
haven't
game
talked in a
anyway.
while. We haven't talked in a while.
I know. I know it happens. I'm not on, I'm not the generalist anymore. I moved over to the specialist roles, and now this is the only way I keep in touch with you people. It's all right. But the reason we brought on Alexis is because you were actually there, which is something I'm quite jealous of. In 7 years, I've still not gone to Cisco Live. So I was hoping you could just kind of tell us what it was like, what the overall ambience was, and just in general how things were received and what the excitement levels were and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, the scale of Cisco Live really blew my mind. I mean, I knew I was going to a big tech conference, but I don't think I could have imagined the magnitude until I got there. And I think it was Blake Shelton at the keynote. He said it best, right? He was like, "Yeah, my agent came up and told me I was playing a stadium for Cisco." And I said, "Who's Cisco?" And then I walked in here and there was 30,000 people. I didn't realize I was playing for 30,000 people. Who are you people? So just being, being in that environment for the 4 or 5 days was really cool. There was keynotes. There was this huge showroom floor called the World of Solutions, where we had Cisco had brought out a ton of their technology partners, everything from traditional like value-added resellers to partners like AWS or Microsoft were all there demoing different solutions. And at least for me, it was really cool because I work mostly remotely. I do, I'm a field rep, so I support customers live in their offices. So it's not very often that I'm in a Cisco office or, I get to see us come out in full force as this huge global company. And so
Right.
it was a really unique experience, especially for me to see, all of the support and resources that we do have.
Nice. I always love those because I've never been, as I said, to Cisco Live, but we do have our internal Cisco only
Hmm.
conference that we do every year. And one of my favorite things is what we call the hub, which I imagine is pretty similar to that. What was it? The World of Solutions was it called? Did I
World of
mess that up?
Solutions. Yep. It is the same,
Yeah.
or very similar. The World of Solutions, I would say, is like maybe 2 or 3 times larger than the hub.
Wow.
If you can picture that scale, I mean, it was the entire conference room.
Wow. That's incredible. And that was always my favorite things because you could really just, you know, walk your way through and you'd see so many different things and maybe it was some hardware, maybe it was a demo or, something that being shown on a screen that just caught your eye and you could just go and just talk with that person and be like, "Hey, like what about this or what about that?" and bounce
Hmm.
ideas off of them. And to me, the last time that we did a Cisco Impact recap episode a couple of years ago because it was before COVID, and we didn't do one last year. I just spent majority of my time in the hub and just going around and talking to all these various people and just talking about the various solutions that they had, and there was a ton of topics to go over. So that's great.
Yeah.
Anything that
And
stood out to you in the world of solutions or
um
anywhere else?
I don't I'm a huge people person. Something that was cool for me was getting to talk to a lot of our customers in person, and not just, my personal customers I support, but, customers globally. You could just walk up to. They had a lot of, these little hubs where people would gather. They were serving drinks or food. And you could walk up and, hey, as a customer, I don't know you. This is basically anonymous. Can I get your honest take on zero trust, right? Or can I get your honest take on the announcements we just talked about? What do you think? Um, so that was really cool. And also, I feel like it's hard to go to Cisco Live and hate on Cisco, right? I know that some customers like to give Cisco a bit of a hard time, and sometimes it's well deserved, but it's really hard to go to this conference where, everything is so big and in your face and be like, I'm not a fan, you know?
I came here just to prove how much of a fan I'm not.
Right, right.
Yeah, I
So,
saw a couple of those videos here and there where you were just kind of like, just, up in someone's face, like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I'm like, "Hey, it works. It works. I like it.
yeah,
I like it."
yeah.
Sal, You didn't go this year. You've gone in years past, or
I went in 2019. I think it was just before the pandemic.
just before? Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yep, that year. That
Last
was
one.
that was amazing. I mean, I echo everything Alexis said. The year that I went, we had Weezer and Foo Fighters playing, and
What?
that was that was a phenomenal
No,
show.
are you kidding me?
Yep, it was in San Diego, and like the city was buzzing when people found out who was coming to town. Like people were reselling their tickets to get in there on Craigslist, and they were going for like a couple $100. It was insane. I was meeting random people out at the bar, and they're like, "How can I go to this concert?" And it was just something else. I had a
I'm
great time out there.
upset. What a lineup. Are you kidding me? I was still in college in
Yep.
2019. That's not fair.
Yeah, it was great.
Tom, I'm feeling old again.
I know. I know.
Tom, have you gone to live?
Yeah, not actually as an employee though. As a customer, I went
Oh, yeah.
twice.
Okay.
And yeah, they were both in Vegas. One of the things that stood out to me was the sheer run on swag announcements. There'd be vendors who were like, "Oh, we're releasing another swag tomorrow," and you'd have people just lined up with bags ready to fill. Of all the useless junk that people give out at these conferences.
Oh, man.
Tennis balls
I
and
don't
fidget spinners and stuff like that.
I don't know if I'd call it useless. I got a lot of t-shirts. I got a lot
I
I
still
got a
don't
lot of
have any of it,
t-shirts.
so to me it was useless.
Yeah, wow.
That's useless to me. No shirts that anyone ever gives out ever fit me. So
That could be a problem. That could be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, between the fidget spinners, the little stress balls. My wife says I have way too many travel mugs, so I can't. I'm not allowed to get those anymore. But yeah, there's always some cool stuff that they give out with the company branding on it. So yeah, I'm the only person that hasn't gone yet, and I'm mad because I was supposed to go to the one in 2020, but we all know what happened then. So I'm feeling a little down. Maybe next year, because I would love to go out there, especially as the show, and go out there and chat with people and do a real live recap right then and there. But hopefully soon. So let's kind of go over some of the announcements that came out of this year's Cisco Live. No, there was a lot. I definitely heard a lot of rumblings around those two letters that are our favorites this time around. Tom, what are those two letters that are our favorite letters of all time right now?
AI.
There you go.
Is GPT right in this episode too?
Yeah. As you can tell, it's so well written,
So eloquent.
so eloquent. But yeah, I think I heard a lot of rumblings around AI and natural language models and all this stuff being integrated into various products, and some of them I'm curious and wanting to see how it will turn out, and others definitely I think I'm more excited about. But let's just kind of go through. Alexis, I know you put together this awesome presentation that you and Salad presented, but let's just kind of go over kind of the few things that we saw in there. I know there's a
Sure.
few announcements around the enterprise networking piece, especially around Cisco Networking Cloud. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Cisco Networking Cloud was one of the key announcements, and I think a big thing here is to realize that this is a vision, right? Cisco
Mm-hmm.
Networking Cloud is a vision for simplifying the customer experience and really trying to make everything a little bit easier to manage. So this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It's the target of where Cisco is trying to go. And some big things that they're shooting for with this is going to be a common UI and cross platform navigation across all the different solutions. So, whether you're working in DNA Center, Meraki, Thousand Eyes, Nexus Dashboard, IWO, you name it, we've got a dashboard for everything. But they're going to try to make that experience feel a little bit more unified.
Mm-hmm.
So you know where all the buttons are. Things are very similar from dashboard to dashboard. And if you want to cross launch from one into the other, we have all of these, sweet integrations between WebEx Control Hub and Thousand Eyes or Meraki and Thousand Eyes. Could we make that process a little bit more seamless for our customers?
It's funny. It sounds like almost like they're taking a page out of what we've been doing in the security space for a little while now, with the rebranding.
Hmm.
Right, everything is now Cisco Secure something. Right, Cisco Secure Firewall, Secure Endpoint, et cetera, et cetera. And we've also made announcements, at least internally, talking about how we're going to be rebranding everything to make it look very similar, to have that same look and feel.
Hmm.
And obviously, with the announcements of around XDR, we're going to be taking that to the next level too, in terms of common UI, cross-platform, single sign-on. They're talking about that too. I know that was something they
Hmm.
were working on and implementing. You know, it takes a while to get there. It's all a vision. It doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and of course a lot of design. Things to think about when putting all this together and trying to make it look the same
Yep.
as you go from one thing to another. But I think it all goes back to that classic phrase we like to use of the Moroccification of traditional Cisco products.
Right. And
And that's
and
it. I think
something.
that's going to be the magnetic dashboard, right?
Yep.
Alexis, I don't know if you've heard that term, but I think everything's going to that magnetic dashboard, like the Meraki dashboard looks like.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clear that up because I know a few of my customers were like, "Oh, Cisco Networking Cloud, when can I buy it? What is this? Like, when can I buy it?" And it's not something you can purchase. It is the vision of where Cisco's trying to go. So
Yeah.
wanted to make sure we cleared that up first. Some of the other Ian announcements. So there is going to be new branding for Cisco Catalyst. So previously we had DNA Center and DNA Licensing. All of that is going to be rebranded to Catalyst Center and Catalyst Licensing. So the entire Catalyst portfolio, including Viptela. Viptela is going to be rebranded to Catalyst SD-WAN. So
Nice.
just some changes in the naming conventions there.
Yeah, it makes things simpler, right? Because for it, I would say it makes things simpler for people coming in. For the people that have been around for a while, and us, as sellers, like we've been doing this stuff on the security side for a while now, and I still call things by their old names: Stealth Watch and Firepower and Amp for Endpoints and Threat Grid.
Always.
Right? It's like I don't even know what the Threat Grid new name is. I forget. So it's like, okay, let's just go off of what I know at the time with the first name that pops up. But at least I'm not calling it Landcope, and I'm not referring to Pixes anymore. So that's always a plus. But cool, yeah. So just Catalyst Center, Catalyst Software Licensing, Catalyst Wireless Switching, Catalyst Routing, and
Hmm.
Catalyst SD-WAN for replacing the Viptela, which again, just going
And
to make things easier.
and Spaces got renamed too. I think that was probably a previous announcement, but it's no longer DNA Spaces either. It's just
Cisco
Spaces. And I
Spaces.
think it makes a lot of sense because like what is DNA? Like when it came out, people were like, "Isn't everything digital already? Like we're on switches. Like were we changing from analog to digital? Like it didn't make never made any sense. Like this DNA thing, and everyone confused. Like oh okay, so if I have DNA, that means I just have access to DNA Center, and it's like
Right.
no, there's actually like CLI commands that are in DNA, and oh, if you want NetFlow and you want to enable NBAR, like that's also part of DNA Advantage. And for the longest time, people were just like, I don't get DNA, like I don't need DNA Center, so I don't
Yeah.
need to buy this license. And it's like, no, we need to look and make sure you don't need it because there are a lot of other things in there. So hopefully this rename of everything helps the field SEs and account managers really go out and explain more what we're doing and what this licensing model actually is.
Did DNA actually stand for? Was it an acronym for something?
Digital, yeah, digital network architecture.
I thought it was actually
Opposed
DNA,
to ANA, analog network architecture, which was the previous
which would
iteration.
be smoke signals.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. I think and we've seen this across the board at Cisco, right? I mean, we did the exact same thing with WebEx, right? We knew that WebEx was a well-known brand name, and we decided to say, okay, we're going to name everything after WebEx. We're gonna use that and take that going forward. Catalyst makes the same thing, right? Catalyst is a very well-known defined name, and Well, we didn't really have one on the security side, so we'll just call it Cisco Secure. It's funny because I was at a networking event. It was the Cybersecurity Risk Alliance Cybersecurity Summit, and we had a booth and everything was branded Cisco Secure, Cisco Secure. And I cannot tell you how many people came up to me and were like, oh, Cisco Secure, is this like an offshoot of Cisco? Like, what is it? And I'm like, it's still Cisco. But and it's funny because at first I was like, man, I'm a little upset at marketing now for doing this because I've got to answer the same question every time. But then I was like, you know what? It actually works because I'm getting people, coming over here and talking to me about this stuff and they're learning. So I guess I can't be too mad at marketing because it's doing its job. So, yeah, Cisco Secure, Cisco Catalyst, and Cisco WebEx. I like it. So definitely we got some simplified licensing options coming out. Is that what I'm seeing here too, Alexis?
Yep. So starting with the Catalyst switches, this new licensing is going to combine hardware and software support into a single subscription. So previously, customers were renewing those separately, sometimes made the renewals a little bit hairy, and they're going to
Yep.
remove some of that complexity by tying those all together.
Nice. That goes to the Moroccification piece, right? I mean, that was always kind of the thing there is that when you got a Meraki license, it included the support piece. So as long as you had the license to operate the equipment, you had the support to go along with it. So
Yep.
I like that because I've run into that
Exactly.
issue before with many times with customers where they don't understand that the SmartNet is not the licensing or the licensing is not the SmartNet. And, they'll buy virtual appliance and be like, well, where's my SmartNet? I'm like, well, you don't get
Hmm.
SmartNet. You get Swiss because there's no hardware to support. And it becomes a nightmare.
Right.
So no, that's a good move. What about this pervasive AI? What's this?
Yeah, so this is cool. I'm sure everyone has heard AI. It's like, the new hot buzzword.
Hasn't
Um,
come up on this podcast at all. No.
so you'll see this throughout the presentation, but Cisco's been putting AI throughout the portfolio, and specifically in the enterprise networking piece, we've got AI for Wi-Fi. So both in and Sal, I might need your help a little bit here, but in the Meraki and the Catalyst line of Wi-Fi, they created a Cisco wireless cloud that's essentially a data lake where we're using AI to analyze wireless trends in either platform to help our customers do a little more automation, more analytics, things like that. But there's something that's really cool. It's called AI Enhanced RRM, or radio resource management, where customers can actually use AI to analyze their network in real time and help them make adjustments to their wireless solution. So instead of deploying Wi-Fi and wandering around the office to test it and adjusting all your radios to do all of that fine tuning, this AI RRM is going to do a lot of that for you, analyzing the wireless experience for your users and then suggesting where to make changes. And this is in both DNA Center or Meraki.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think the really cool thing about that too is Alexis hit on it. We've got one AI cloud platform that Catalyst Wireless feeds into and Meraki Wireless feeds into. So pick your platform, but at the high level, we're still learning from both platforms and sharing information back and forth. And that goes towards a lot of the simplification talk. I know that was really big at Cisco Live, where we need to start simplifying our product portfolio as well. And the latest access points that came out, the 9100 series, they can be run on 9160 series. They can be run on Catalyst, or you can flip the firmware over and they can be run in the cloud on Meraki. So you're only buying one hardware SKU now at this point, and you
Right.
pick which platform. So, and I think that goes a long ways too toward making sure manufacturing processes are a lot easier. Instead of manufacturing very similar switches, but one runs on Meraki and one runs on, Catalyst and Catalyst Center, let's have one platform and just you pick how you want to run it.
Yeah. No, I like that, and I'm excited about the AI enhanced RRM because I think in if you go back to, we've done at least one or two Wi-Fi specific episodes. We talk about the importance of site surveys, and we talk about the differences of active versus passive, and how important an active site survey is, because you're going to get close to real world examples and data and throughput and whatnot. And I would say that this takes it a step further, because if you're going to do an active site survey, right, and you're doing it properly, right, you got the access point on the stick that, you know, goes up to the ceiling, and you got your laptop and other devices going around to figure out what your signal quality is, your drop rate, etc. What it's not taking into account is the fact that there's, you know, potentially tens or hundreds of people walking around, sitting, moving around, other furniture that might be moved into place. And the only way you're going to get that real world data is to be taking it constantly from the APs and the clients, which is why years ago we came out with those little they were like little client boxes, right, that would sit on your network. It was part of the DNA piece. Do you remember this, Sal? It was like a little client access point that you would just place anywhere you wanted to, and it would have a hardwired connection to the network, but it would act as a wireless client, and the AP would know about it, and it would go ahead and run all these different tests, and it would be able to see the tests from both ends, right? It could see it from the client's point of view, and it can also see it obviously from the access point's point of view. But I think utilizing the data lake of collecting all these trends from a large pool of access points of different types and in various locations, as well as you know, the AI piece to kind of go through all that data and make sense of it. I think this is a good thing. It sounds like it's going to have some good outcomes from it. I'm excited to see what becomes of it. Very cool. Any other thing you wanted to add? I know that you got a note here on SD-WAN consumption models. Is that changing up a little bit too?
A little bit. We don't know too much about this yet. There haven't been a ton
Okay.
of details, but it seemed like customers can now consume SD-WAN with a subscription model. It was cloud delivered SD-WAN. It said the announcement that they talked about at Live said that customers will be able to spin up SD-WAN in minutes, so it's supposed to shorten the deployment time frame. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't seen that many details on it yet. I'm more of a believe it when I see it kind of gal.
Yeah.
So you know how some of these announcements are.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. That's fine, right? At least we're making the announcements and talking about the vision, you know, going forward, and we'll see where it goes from there. So cool stuff. I don't know if, Sal, did you want me to switch over to you for that next section? I know I saw your name on it. Do you want to do that?
Yeah,
or-
I mean, we could talk about security. I think was the next set
Yeah.
of announcements there. And I know, Brian, you are the security guru, so maybe
I
I can
dabble in
start
it.
off the conversation, and you can kind of fill in some of the gaps.
Yeah. I'll tell you what you got wrong.
There you go. So I'll go over a couple of the announcements real quick here. So I think the three things that I picked out from Cisco Live on the security front is Cisco MultiCloud Defense, which was really just our acquisition of Vultix, and now we're actually implementing that. Rebranding it for Cisco, but essentially, when I started looking into it, it's a cloud-based firewall, and there's a couple of really good videos out on YouTube. Maybe you can put them in your show notes or something, but just showing how simple it is to deploy a cloud firewall with the Vultix acquisition, and it's like 3 clicks and like, hey, you're up and running. And then when you actually go into the program, I mean, it looks like any regular firewall. You've got URL filtering in there. You've got, I think there's some stuff around DNS in there. You got all your main firewalling capabilities there. And it's a way to spin up firewalls very quickly inside of all the different clouds out there. So if I've got any traffic going between different hosts inside of the same cloud. They're going to be protected, but then I think probably the even more powerful thing is between clouds. So if I have to go from Azure to AWS, we can actually do firewalling between those two clouds now as well.
Nice. Yeah, just based on what I'm reading here, just based on the notes, it definitely seems that it fills the need of, if you're in different clouds, if you're in a multi-cloud environment where you've got some workloads in AWS, some of them in Azure, maybe some in GCP. The problem is that each of those solutions has their own set of controls, specifically around their security controls as well. So things like, your layer 4, layer 7 firewalls, your ACLs, they may be all worded differently. So if you want to have the same granular policy across, those three platforms currently without this, you would have to go into each platform, figure out how to set it up so that it's identical, and then hopefully you got it right. And then if you need to make a change, you'd have to go into each one and change it manually. So this kind of just puts all that aside and says, okay, you've got the same level of inspection, control, and unified security across all those platforms in one dashboard. Which I will say too, this is something that has always been possible with the virtual firepower, right? So virtual FTD, you could put that in front of your Azure or AWS. I'm not sure if it's supported in GCP. I think it is, but you could do that and have everything in Firepower Management Center, which is fine. But for those customers that maybe don't want that level of that depth and that amount of control, or maybe even that licensing piece, right? Because it can get expensive. This sounds like a simpler option and another option to be able to go down. So that's pretty cool, and that's available today.
Yep, available today.
Cool. What else we got?
So the other two announcements here, SSE, which is really part of the whole SASE story. I think it's more the cloud portions of SASE. Let's remove SD-WAN out of there, and let's talk SSE. And I think Cisco has had probably the best full SASE solution out there, we'll say. But I think the problem that Cisco had is that while we have the best solution out there and it's the most complete, you also don't have like a single dashboard to kind of go into everything, and it's multiple dashboards all over the place. And again, while it's most complete, it may not be the most user friendly because of that. So with this whole SSE announcement here, we're kind of updating the Umbrella Cloud to like Umbrella 2.0, we'll call it, and we're going to have sort of a single dashboard and replace a couple of the components inside of there. So like things like clientless VPN are going to be done a little bit differently, but we'll have finally like a single dashboard for you to go in and manage all the cloud components of that SASE solution.
Nice.
And Brian, I don't know if you want to add a couple comments there.
No, I think we've we've had a little bit of some false starts. I think in that area. I think our VPN story has been strong for a very long time. I think the clientless piece was something that we were definitely falling behind a long time, for a while. And it was a feature that was never brought over to FTD, and then eventually was cut out of the ASA code fairly recently, just completely dropped. And it couldn't do what it needed to do. It couldn't keep up with the demand. So I'm glad to see this, retooling from where we were about a year ago. I thought we were in a good place a year ago, and it wasn't really working out. I think there was a lot of some internal issues that they had to sort through, and unfortunately that project had to be kind of abandoned and retooled. So I'm excited to see this. I know a lot of my customers are talking about the zero trust piece, the clientless VPN. It's something that we need to have an offering of, and it sounds like we've got a good place for it, a good home for it in the Umbrella Cloud and in those data centers. So, yeah, I'm excited to see this, and my understanding is it's been demoing very well as well. So, good stuff.
Definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, definitely. Tom, any thoughts? You're quieter than usual.
No, I'm just kind of reading along, like taking a lot of this in. I think, yeah, you kind of mentioned it. I think that we did have some missteps in that space.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that we're kind of retooling it. And I think using Umbrella, to your point, I think it's a good base for that. So it's a very strong tool already.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think we're sharing any state secrets here, because I mean, I think everyone that was going down that path about a year and a half ago that suddenly got upended and were like, oh, this is not something we offer anymore. They know that we were going down a certain path. It didn't work. We pulled the plug, and we had another offering available, but it was not as robust, and there were some other issues internally. So, glad that we didn't just leave it there. We had to obviously retool some stuff and work on it to get it going in the Umbrella Cloud. But it sounds like it's ready for prime time, and excited to see where it goes. Yep. Also excited about this new firewall announcement, because you know me, man. I'm the firewall. I am like the firewall guy.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting at Cisco Live. I feel like there's usually a lot of hardware announcements, and I feel like this one there really wasn't a lot. It was very, very software heavy, very cloud heavy. Probably a sign of the times, but
Yeah.
there was a new firewall announcement and a couple IoT hardware products that we'll cover in a second here. But the 4200 series appliance, and really, I didn't see a whole lot different than the current Firepower line or Cisco Secure Firewall, because I guess we're renaming everything now to Cisco Secure Firewall.
Mm-hmm.
Besides it just being better, faster, stronger. I think that the max throughput here now is 150 gigs per second, and you can even cluster these things up and get terabits worth of throughput on these devices. So yeah, I don't think I saw too much of, hey, it's going to be doing this new feature type stuff, besides it just being a faster version of kind of what's out there today. And then, depending on who you talk to, yes, it's going to be a replacement of the 4100s. Maybe it's not going to be. 4100s might stay around for a little while longer. But, maybe in the far distant future, maybe a replacement for the 4100s.
Yeah, I mean, just on the speeds alone, I'm looking at that hardware portfolio slide that you got in there. Just on the speeds alone, it could completely replace the 9300s. By its numbering scheme, it looks like a replacement and an upgrade to the 4000 series, and I'm sure that's probably the pricing point that it's at. But I mean, 70 to 145 or 150 gigabits per second on a standalone device, and then 1.6 terabits per second on a 16 node cluster. Those are impressive speeds, and those blow the 9300 out of the water. So definitely meant for very large data center and service provider customers. And as far as I'm going to correct you a little bit, Sal. So
good.
As
good.
far
Please
as
prove me wrong.
yeah, this is what I'm here for. So where a lot of the advancements in firepower have been lately is around it's two fronts. It is the hardware and it is the software. On the hardware front, this is something we came out with the 3100s. Is the architecture and the CPU architecture that's built in allows for faster data flow and faster access to hardware accelerated decryption and encryption tools. And it was they had a slide that showed kind of like, hey, this is how we used to do it before, and everything had to kind of go through this little bit of a bottleneck to get to the CPU, and they've shifted that all around so that the CPU is kind of first and foremost, and these CPUs are hardware accelerated for the tools that they need for decryption and repackaging. But on the software side too, and this is something that has come up in 7.2 release, is the encrypted visibility engine. So Alexis, Sal, have either of you heard of this EVE?
For the ETA.
You've heard of ETA? Good.
I have.
So
I was going to say I
Alexis.
have not. I have not. ETA is the furthest thing I've heard of.
All right. Tom, I think I've talked to you about this, so I think you already know about this. All right, so EVE is basically what ETA was on Catalyst, but for the firewall, where I think it personally belongs. It allows the firewall to have access to understanding what that data is within those encrypted packets without needing to decrypt it. So it looks at the metadata, it looks at the headers, it looks at patterns, just like ETA did on the Catalyst switches. And it's able to make inferences of what that data is, as well as what the client is, in terms of, let's say I'm going to a website and I'm using Firefox or Google Chrome. It can infer what that is versus just saying, oh, it's an SSL client. I don't know. I've demoed this many times to customers where I'll have a block Firefox rule that I'll turn on, and by having the EVE on, I'm trying to go to encrypted sites. Normally I would not get blocked. It would just allow through because it's like, oh, it's an encrypted packet. I don't have any decryption rules. I'm just going to let it go through. But now with EVE turned on, it realizes, oh, because I'm looking at the metadata and the headers, I'm able to determine that's Firefox. I know that's Firefox. I'm going to go ahead and block that connection because it hits this rule. The the example I love giving is, for a long time on my Firepower setup in the back room here, I had this rule that was block high risk apps, and I'm like, yeah, okay, this makes sense, right? Just pick a category, high risk, very high and high. I blocked them both, and I had that rule in there for years. Never had a problem. All of a sudden, I turn on the EVE, the encrypted visibility engine, and now all these applications now are getting blocked. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? It took me a minute to figure out what was actually happening. The encrypted visibility engine gave my system teeth now to actually enforce the rules that were already in place. And that, it was night and day. I'm like, okay, this thing definitely works. So it's not just,
That's cool.
Yeah, it actually works, and it doesn't have to decrypt. So again, salved, very similar to what we were doing with ETA on the Catalyst, and I believe it's actually the same guy or guys that were on that team that designed it over for Firepower too. So
cool.
That's the huge piece there, and that's a software feature that's available in 7.2 and beyond. So that's
Bryan, which platforms is that coming out for? Might be something good to tell the audience.
That's on every firewall that's running 7.2 or greater.
Nice.
And that's the beauty of it, because it's software based. There's not a lot of resource necessary. It's not doing actual decryption, so it doesn't matter if it's running on a 1010 or a 4245. It doesn't matter.
And Bryan, before we move on from security, I'm not sure if you were planning on talking about ICE 3.3, but ICE 3.3 was announced this morning.
Yeah, I did see that
morning.
email. I did see that email this morning, and the beauty of it is ICE is quite often thought to be a security product, and it's not. It's not in my portfolio of things to cover, and I'm kind of glad.
Until next year, Bryan, when they bring it back.
That's fine. Let them try. Let them try. Yeah, no, I did see that. I don't know if there was anything in that email announcement that was brief enough to read on the show here, but yeah, I did see that 3.3 new features and improvements designed to strengthen your network's security, boost efficiency, provide unparalleled flexibility. Bunch of stuff here. I think
it looked like
IPv6 support.
It looked like a lot of analytics, like beefed up analytics. I know when I was at Cisco Live, it was something they were talking about, adding an AI to ICE to help you do
I've seen
device
that
posturing. Here. So AI and everything.
Yeah, AI ML based profiling. Unidentified endpoints can be a challenge. Cisco ICE 3.3 employs artificial intelligence and machine learning profile and multi-factor classification to swiftly identify clusters of similar unknown endpoints. Nice.
Yeah.
Posture for ARM-based Windows. Cool. Yeah, so looks like cloud availability, it's going to be available pretty soon on AWS, Azure, Oracle Cloud. Yeah, looks like it's available now, 3.3. So check that out. Read the release notes. Make sure it's a good fit for you. But it sounds like pretty cool stuff. I'm actually going to probably try it out in my lab, even though I don't support it. It always comes up. It's like I need to know about it, but I don't want to. I have enough stuff to do. But good call out there. Cool stuff. Let's switch over to the IoT stuff. Sal, you mentioned some stuff there.
Yeah, so 2 new hardware products on the IoT front. We have a new, they're calling it a 9300 IoT switch, so a 9320 and a 9310. Looking into this, it's actually a 9200 based on the stacking and the hardware inside of it and everything. I don't know how marketing got a hold of it and are calling it a 9300, but it's a 9300 industrial Ethernet switch. I guess maybe they're getting away with it because they did add a little bit of compute power to these switches. So that way you can run like a CyberVision client, things like that on the device. So if you're pulling telemetry information out of your IoT network, come directly from the switch. So that was new from the switching perspective. There's 2 versions of it, 9320, which is a stackable switch. I think it's 160 gig stacking because that's what the 9200 is. And then there's also a 9310, which does not have stacking on it. So it just depends on where you need these switches to go and which version. I think max ports on these things they're like 24 port versions or 28 because they got a couple extra ports on there. There's not going to be like a 48 port version of this or anything. Right. The really cool thing is they increased the temperature ranges on this here too. So it can go to negative 100 degrees. So if you're planning a trip to Antarctica and you need a switch, definitely put this.
And
one
you're
going to
put the switch outside.
and you plan on using it near a campfire, 167 degrees Fahrenheit. So
plan on using your switch near a campfire. Sal,
both
I think
sides
that's a next video for you right there. That you need to get one of those heavy duty access points and a switch and be like, normally this would be a bad thing, but because it's Cisco IE, we're good.
The switch is actually melting, but still passing traffic.
Minimal packet loss, even at 160 degrees. Amazing.
Have you seen the advertisement videos they do for that? Like they'll do if you look at any of the ads, I think they're on the YouTube channel, but it's a video of someone like kicking an AP down a stairwell. And then plugging it in to see if it works. Yeah, or like running it over with a truck and then plugging it in. It's kind of funny.
We're gonna have to look those up and maybe put them on the show notes there because that's great. I would prefer to see Sal's wife riding a lawnmower over a Catalyst heavy duty access point. That's the next
while
video.
It's on fire though. Driving right on.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd be fine with having flamethrowers coming out of the back of the ride around. Just don't tell her until, ready, action. Oh, my God. All right. Well, that's cool. I mean, listen, I've been in manufacturing, and those lines can get pretty warm. It can get hot in there. There was one part of the building that we had, it was called heat treat, and that's exactly what they did. They heat treated metal, and in the summertime when they were running those furnaces, it got up to about about 110. It was pretty warm in there, but it was a dry heat. It was okay. It was like going to Arizona. It was fine.
Like Vegas.
Yeah,
Vegas in August.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Who thought of that? Cool. And then we got the new APs as well, right? And I think I see Wi-Fi 6E on those.
Yep. So there's going to be 2 modes for these things, possibly 3. But the 2 modes is you can use it as an industrial Wi-Fi 6, normal Catalyst access point, or you can flip it into curb mode, which is the fluid mesh acquisition that we had. And
nice.
Inside of curb mode, that's if I want to do like a mesh outdoor environment, or if I've got a customer that uses them on trains going through train yards and stuff like that. So you're going to be able to either use it as a curb radio or a traditional Catalyst radio.
That's cool.
And again, when I looked into this a little bit, it does have what it needs in it to be a catalyst access point as well, but apparently that's not in the near-term roadmap. So maybe in the future,
Okay.
it could be a catalyst industrial Ethernet product, but today it's only going to be catalyst and curb.
Did you say, when you said
You
it
mean
could be a
Meraki?
catalyst? Did you mean Meraki?
No catalyst.
Oh, okay.
I'm confused.
I'm confused because you said it's currently today catalyst, but it has the potential to be a catalyst. So
Sorry, it has potential to be a Meraki. If I
All right.
that's what we thought. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
All right. So it's today operational as a catalyst or curb, but in the future potentially could have the ability to be a Meraki.
Correct, because we're using the 9160 chipsets in there that today can be either catalyst or Meraki.
Good to know. Yeah, because Meraki does not have anything in the industrial side of the portfolio. They have a couple outdoor units, but I've go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, which would be great because they're being in the camera and sensor space. It would only make sense to have some switches and some APs that could be in those type of environments that we already support for the sensors. So
yeah,
maybe if enough people raise their hand, say I want this, maybe they'll okay, we'll work on re-engineering the firmware so we can go to the Meraki cloud. But yeah, it should be hardware capable if that ever comes up.
Nice. Sounds like they're future proofing. And the curb stuff is really cool because for anyone that has not caught our Fluid Mesh episode, we got to do an interview with 2 of the 3 founders of Fluid Mesh to talk about how it became, what it does, how it does it, and really, really incredible stuff on how it works. So that's really cool that it can run that, because it's unfortunate, but there's only been a couple of times I've had the conversations around Fluid Mesh with customers, and I've got my buddy Dave Gutschall, who was on a couple episodes ago. He was working with what the heck was it? I think it was. I want to say it was Space Mountain, the roller coaster Space Mountain, that has all these different sensors on the on the individual cars, and if the thing loses one packet, the ride comes to a complete stop, and they utilize Fluid Mesh to consistently have those connections. It's really cool.
Hopefully,
stuff.
It's not when it's upside down in a loop or something. Right?
Yeah. A lot of roller coaster stuff going on lately in the news. That was crazy.
Yeah.
That video of that track just kind of moving side to side. Whoops.
No, not for me.
I don't mind those, but I was always kind of the roller coaster guy, but now in my larger stature, when the bars don't click right, or they're kind of using 2 people to push them down, and they're looking down and they're like, it's not green yet, hold on, and they do it again, like, okay, it's good enough, and I'm like, no, it's not, like, no, I don't want to be on this anymore. And I only go on because my daughter, she's an adrenaline junkie. She loves going on these things, and now she's old, like she's tall enough now she can go on it by herself, but I've had to go on with her a couple times, and I'm like, I don't like doing this anymore.
I don't want to be on here.
Oh man. Well, I know I know we have a hard stop at 10:30. I know we got a couple more things, but if there's just any other kind of high level last second announcements that you want to go over, Alexis, I'll open it up to you there.
Yeah, so I'll really quickly go through data center. So one of the biggest data center announcements was that they're putting sustainability information into Nexus Dashboard. So many of our customers have ESG or sustainability initiatives, and we're trying to give them more tools and reporting in solutions they already have, which I'm a huge fan of, right? Who doesn't love extra functionality? So now there's going to be a new dashboard inside of Nexus Dashboard that's going to give you power consumption monitoring, some real-time data around both your servers and your data center as a whole, stats around cooling efficiency, and it also integrates with other IT power management providers. So some cool sustainability stuff. I know everyone's always looking for more data around that, so it's nice to see it being integrated into something we already have.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense because, as you said, customers they're asking for it. They need it for whatever metrics they need to capture for whatever regulations or compliances that they're upheld to. So cool stuff.
Yep.
Um,
And then I was the last thing we should probably go over. I know Sal has a couple things on the collaboration side,
yeah,
but from Thousand Eyes, there was a whole bunch of announcements around Thousand Eyes where it's starting to be integrated across the portfolio. So most recently, it's been placed inside of the Meraki MX devices. To help provide extra visibility into the Meraki SD-WAN solution and the WebEx Room OS devices. So any kind of Cisco endpoint is now going to have the ability to run that Thousand Eyes agent to get end-to-end visibility, which is
Sal,
pretty
you
cool.
did a video on this, didn't you, recently with Alexis, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She was in the beginning showing the poor quality. I had to build a WAN emulator to get the quality so poor. And I got to tell you, the improvements in WebEx, like
It was
I was
hard.
up like 13, 14% packet loss, like
Yep.
300 milliseconds of round trip delay, and it still was looking good. And I'm like, what the hell do I got to do to make like a crappy WebEx call these
You
days?
know, I'm so glad you brought that up because it is really true. Like the days of like having a single, a couple packets dropped and be everything just like looking like you're getting beamed up. It's funny because we're not on WebEx when we record this. We're on a different platform and they don't have that technology. So everyone's video is coming in good on my end except for Alexis. Alexis keeps looking like she's getting all pixelated and getting beamed up,
Really?
which is fine because on the final
Oh,
recording it'll
sorry.
look. It's not your fault. The final recording it'll look fine, but it's just the live stream that it does that. And I'm like, man, if they had some type of WebEx integration here, like this wouldn't be an issue. It does not happen on WebEx. There's so much that they've done recently to help make the thing so elastic that even if you do have 10% packet loss, it's fine. It's working great.
Well, I think they announced recently, and again, it goes back to pervasive AI, but using AI to supplement the images if they're not
Hmm.
coming through clearly, which is wild.
So if I
That's
turn
pretty
into a
cool.
giraffe all of a sudden just for a couple frames, it's AI's fault. Probably would turn me into a
I don't
hippo
know.
though, not a giraffe. I don't have that long of
Always
a
the guy's fault.
I don't know about that.
Why is a hippo on WebEx? So that's cool. We're putting Thousand Eyes and everything. Sal and Alexis, you guys did that awesome demonstration of how it works. I'll make sure to put that in a link as well. What about any new hardware announcements on the WebEx front?
So the Roombar Pro was a new announcement. It's a, dual camera meant for medium size rooms. So we've got the three camera system, which is going to be meant for a little bit larger. The two camera system, which is going to be for medium, and then the one camera system, which is going to be for more like small. I've even had some customers use it in like personal offices. But those are kind of your three system lineup. And then, the Roombar Pro, the two camera system, that'll be good about 20 feet ish.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go to the quad camera, the three cameras, and it's got the overview lens on it, that's good for about 30 feet of a room. If you need to go larger than that, basically what you do is you get the quad camera and then you add on the PTZ 4K camera, and that'll allow you to shoot a little bit further than that 30 feet room. And we've got some really cool technology coming together as well, where if you do have multiple cameras in the room, we're going to be stitching a lot of that technology together now. They're calling it cinematic meetings. This was announced at one of the other events a couple months back. But if we could take like three cameras now and switch like we got a full TV production crew inside the room, using all the different cameras to really stitch all the frames and everything together. So that'd be really cool when that comes out. Quick story on the Roombar Pro that came out. So I got wind about probably 2 weeks before Cisco Live that this thing was actually coming out. I was all excited about it and everything. The announcement was made. I hit up one of my best customers. I'm like, hey, Derek, there's a new camera. You guys are building a new office. I think this thing would be perfect for you guys. And he's like, oh, yeah, we already tested that thing like 2 months ago. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we had to sign all this like documentation and everything. He's like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell anybody. I'm like, how did this like happen?
Wow, that's funny.
And then he's like, dude, it's the best system you guys have ever released. The quality, the way that it zooms in and does the speaker tracking. He's like, everything has been improved on this camera. He's like, it's phenomenal.
That's awesome. You know what I'd like to see? I would like to see, and maybe this is coming, maybe this is a very difficult thing to do, but on many times when I'm on a WebEx and there's two people talking, maybe a question and answer, or, different people on different sides of the desk. And of course, with the way the WebEx cameras are set up right now, it will zoom in on one person, maybe get the person next to them, right? It won't like just cut off their head. It'll probably group them both together. That person's talking. The other person's on the other side of the table, so it'll switch over, but it'll take a second or two. It'll be like, okay, is that person really going to talk, or is that person just, coughing? Okay, they're talking, so I'll switch over. And it has to switch back and forth, but a full screen. I would rather it do like split screen with those two people on at the same time.
It does that.
It does that?
Yeah,
New
Brian, that's a
feature.
thing. It's called frames. So frames, and I did a demo of this on TikTok just a couple days ago, but it'll split the screen in up to 4 quadrants so that it eliminates white space in the room to try to give that end user a better experience.
Wow. All right. Well, see, this is what happens when I don't even worry about what everyone else is doing in the other spaces. I just focus on the security stuff. Wow. Okay. Cool. Well, good. I'll wait for my my check there for giving them a good idea. Cool stuff. Tom, any final questions for our team as we wrap things up here?
No, I think this was great, and I think kind of to the point of this would seem to be a very software heavy live, which is very indicative of the vision that Cisco's had in the last couple of years to be thought of more as a software company and not just a hardware company. So looks like we're definitely trending in that direction.
Software doesn't suffer usually from the same supply chain issues as hardware, so it makes sense.
True.
It allows you to get it out there. So cool stuff. Alexis, I'll give you an opportunity for any final thoughts as we wrap things up.
Cool. Final thoughts. You should go to live next year. I don't know what other thought you could have. It was such a great experience. So if anyone out here is listening and you haven't been to live, I highly, highly recommend it. And hopefully I'll be there again.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna vote to go out there and be like, hey, you need to send me out there. It's been too many years now. Never gone. Let's go. Cool. Well, thank you, Alexis, for that, and thanks for sharing your experience with that. Sal, any final thoughts for you?
Final thoughts, go Bills. This is going to be their year.
Oh, God. We've been so successful in keeping sports out of this for so long, but, yeah, sure. Okay. Go Bills. Where are they again?
The only real New York team. They're actually in New York
Ooh.
State.
Okay. We're going to get some hate mail for that one. All right, cool. So go Bills is all Sal has to say. Be sure to check out both Sal and Alexis on their various social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I don't know. I'm just on LinkedIn. Tom and I are on LinkedIn. And of course our YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe and share everything out. And until next time, this has been Conf T with your SE. Stay safe out there and don't forget to save that config.